So 2018 is over halfway complete and I still have not made a what's on my phone video. You guys have been asking for it in the comments of pretty much every video over the past month and even a little bit longer. And the reason it's taken so long is because my current setup is what I would call pretty boring, at least compared to previous iterations in this series. But with that said, let's show you what's on my phone. So first things first, I am still using the OnePlus 5T as my daily driver and have been since really the start of this year, and it's held up fairly well. No doubt, if you've seen any of my videos, then you know that I like to prop up my phone for a lot of my B-roll shots. And whilst this looks cinematic, it can unfortunately result in a drop or two or three. And this has resulted in a few minor nicks and scratches on my phone's display, but luckily they are pretty small. And this means that in most lighting scenarios, they are pretty much indistinguishable. Aside from that, the first thing you'll notice when jumping into the home screen setup is the launcher. As alluded to in a few previous videos, and I know this is going to be somewhat controversial given that I make best Nova Launcher setups videos every month, but I actually no longer use Nova Launcher as my primary daily driver launcher. I know, I feel like a fraud, but it is what it is. So I now use a third-party launcher called Lean Launcher. I have featured this in a top Android apps video before, and basically this launcher emulates the Pixel 2 and 2 XL launcher that was released with said devices last year. The main reason I prefer this launcher over Nova Launcher now basically comes down to its fluidity, and what I mean by that is that the animations feel a lot more polished and intentional, whereas with Nova Launcher, they don't quite feel as clean. Then on top of that, add in that pretty much every aspect of this launcher is customizable, and so you end up with a launcher that is very clean and very polished, and you can also make it look and feel exactly how you want it to. So with that customization ability, I've obviously set the launcher up to be using icons from the Crichton icon pack. I've talked about this icon pack a lot in the past, so I won't go into too much detail here, but you can also manually override each individual app icon, meaning any unthemed icons can be replaced with one of your own choosing if that's something you're interested in doing. I've also got what's called the optimized version of Lean Launcher installed. This isn't the one directly available on the Play Store, but you do find it via the Play Store description. And all this does is enable the Google feed to the left of the home screen, which I use quite a lot. So obviously that was something that I was after. Aside from that, I also have the dark theme enabled across the launcher at the moment, which basically takes all of the main elements of the launcher, such as the folders, the background of the Google feed, and the entire app drawer, and surprise, surprise, makes them dark. The only other customization I've made to the home screen, and this may or may not sound a little bit ridiculous, but it is what it is, but I've actually removed the default Lean Launcher at a glance widget and replaced it with the one that comes from the Another Widget application, mainly because I'm able to make it slightly smaller, which is a bit more minimal in my opinion. And there's a few other customization options as well if I was into that, but it works just as well as the default widget, just with slightly more control over how it looks, so that's there. Now moving to the wallpaper, and if you follow me on Instagram, which I will link down below, then you might actually recognize this image. It's actually the first original photography wallpaper I've ever had on my device, and it's a shot I took in Queenstown, New Zealand when I was there recently, but I will link this image down below if you're interested. But normally I'm using the Wonderwall Wallpapers application, which is currently my one and only go-to wallpaper app. I highly recommend it. I will of course also link it down below, as well as all of the other apps I mentioned in today's video. Now, a lot of you have been asking me how I get the pixel style nav bar on my OnePlus 5T, and this is actually done via a Substratum theme called Vivid Nav Bars. It is $1 on the Play Store, but well worth it in my opinion, and you don't have to be rooted anymore to use Substratum. You just have to use the Andromeda application, which works for any device running Android Oreo, so that's how I've achieved this look. Now, in terms of the apps I have on my home screen, I try to keep things fairly minimal. So I have a dock of applications down the bottom and then 2 folders on the home screen itself. These are all very familiar apps that I've talked about before. A couple to make mention of in this first folder is the YouTube Studio application and Spotify. And then the other folder is just filled with all of my main social media platforms. On the left of the dock, you can see my main email application of choice is still Gmail. Now, a few of you have been asking me why I don't use Inbox, and pretty much the main reason is that I don't actually have a Gmail email address, and that means I can't utilize all of the great features that makes Inbox great. To the right of that is Text or SMS, my main SMS application, then the phone, Google Maps, and then Google Chrome, so pretty much standard. Coming into my app drawer, I'm obviously not going to walk you through each of my apps, but a few ones of note include the Google Camera Mod application, which I use to take most of my portrait photos and in situations that require that amazing HDR capability. And then a little bit further down is the IGTV app, which again, if you don't follow me over there, it is linked below, so make sure you go and do that. My three main photography editing applications currently are Adobe Lightroom CC, Lens Distortions, and PixArt, and my main podcasting application of choice is still Podcast Addict, which could probably do with a refresh in its design, but the functionality of actually finding, subscribing, and listening to podcasts is still up there as one of the best available on the Play Store, or at least that I've found so far. I very rarely, but sometimes use the Sony Play Memories application for transferring photos to and from my phone and my Sony a7S. I also use Solid File Explorer as my main file manager. And believe it or not, I still have the Life Hacks application on my phone, which I've thought about uninstalling, but the hacks are just so useful. Anyway, the last thing that I wanted to quickly mention is that Lean Launcher doesn't have a paginated app drawer or the ability to have folders in the app drawer. And so a little workaround that I've been using is to hide all of my customization apps, such as all of the icon packs and widget applications I have installed, which are a lot, plus a few extra system default apps that I don't need quick access to. And this just helps to clean up the app drawer a fair bit and saves me from having to swipe through hundreds of applications to get to the one that I want. But anyway, that is really all there is to my phone and to my home screen setup. As you can see, not really a lot going on, pretty clean, pretty minimal, but that is how I like a home screen setup and really my overall Android experience. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Links are down below if you're interested, but thank you guys very much for watching and I'll catch you later.